morning. Welcome.
Oh, man, where'd that come from?
Excuse me, trying to have a program in here, please. Excuse me. So some people could actually get some real Black history this morning.
Hey,
I heard the shot.
you got to get the hood.
And then she go, he bring his little, no, it's not. He brings his one mic policy.
Turn my mic on.
He got to bring his little book up in here.
Did I say little?
Yeah, you said little. He bring his little book up in here. Everybody know he can read.
One little book up in here. One little book.
Hey, wait a minute, Jermaine. And if his ass so smart, how come he flunked kindergarten?
Oh, man.
All I said was for real history. Tune in to my colleague.
Because he bringing little books up in here.
Oh,
Michelle will little you in a minute.
I don't think I said little. I don't.
The operative word was he hold up a book.
Hold up a book.
He hold up one little old book.
Because all he tried to do is for you to know your history. That's all he tried to do. Help a brother out doing Black History Month.
man.
Know your history.
I want that recorded. I swear, before this month is over, I need y'all. You and Jermaine. You know, Debo gonna want to get in on it too because he
I want
just
the bottom end.
swear he can sing. He gonna want to get in on it. Y'all can't sing without him.
Know your history. Boy,
So-
you done put yourself in the pantheon of things that are said in WNOB. You're up there with GTO, the gifted and talented one.
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't help it. Oh, that's
Yes,
hilarious.
that is.
The gifted and talented
You,
one.
like you almost knocking Keon off his perch.
Yeah,
Man,
man.
listen.
That would. I know how to read. I want to go to my ear. Blank. No.
That's why when the man from NPS facilities, Sean Kane, who clearly didn't have no business having this damn job, did that press conference by himself, and they was talking about the lead in the schools, and somebody said, "Are you saying Gold in My Ear could close?" He was like, "Yeah, it could."
It was one of the oldest schools in the city.
But it's Gold in My Ear. You don't say that. Like,
Right.
I know Keon would have been.
But that could explain some of the things that Keon was going through. He might have had exposure
Yeah,
to the
man.
lead.
that's how y'all gonna do my man. That's how y'all gonna have to look.
I immediately thought
People always
will
throw
not
shots,
take
though. He always
a
throw
little
shots.
lead exposure there,
No
huh?
respect. No respect.
Oh my God! Me
Yeah.
and DJ looked at each other and said, "That boy can have a meltdown back
I
then."
said it, and I want to be clear. It's something wrong with all y'all.
No, not at
Every
all.
one of y'all.
Let me tell you something, Michelle.
From that preacher to that blues club hopping singer over there
Oh,
to this
boy.
thing that be playing at the churches. It is something wrong with all three of y'all.
Let me say
There's
this.
something wrong with y'all.
Let me say this to you, Michelle. When I get healthy, you can no longer be my friend. When I
We ain't
stop
gotta worry
being
about that.
when I stop being
We
crazy,
ain't gotta worry
you
about
can
that.
no longer be my
Well,
friend.
me and you gonna be
Okay?
together for a
Because
long
birds
time.
of a feather
So do. Flock together.
flock together.
Don't nobody think it's something wrong with me. Let's be
Please.
clear.
Let's open up the phone lines. 414.
I got to go.
414. Where you going? Now you want to leave. Oh, now you want to go.
So, reach a little book.
Now you want to read.
See? Told you she
Read
said
your
it.
little
Read
book.
your little book.
Boy, she throw shots when she leave.
Ooh. Yeah, well, let's open up the phone lines, find out how many people don't like her.
Don't like her. Wow. Such love in the air.
Ooh,
People
boy.
calling in disguising their voices.
I
never liked that anyway. Anyway, hey, today's book,
Oh, sure. Let me get that up for you.
the little book for Black History Month, is The Spook Who Sat by the Door by Sam Greenlee. It was a movie. This book was done in 1969. This was on the this was a reprint. So I like to read the introduction that his daughter wrote, Natiki Hope Presley. She said, "This book is about neither race nor politics, inequality nor revolt. Although race and politics are the back, this book is about freedom. over 50 years ago, when my father, Sam Greenlee Jr., wrote The Spook Who Sat by the Door, some critics chose to see this book as simply an outline plan to educate and train youth gang members in Chicago to violently overthrow the city. They overlooked the meticulous intentionality of Spook's main character, Dan Freeman, a man on a mission to quench his thirst for field experience, but was assigned to serve as the copy boy. He kept it in a non-threatening, he was kept in a non-threatening position, void of authority and dignity. Dan's true motivation for joining the CIA was to use what he had learned to empower his community and serve a purpose greater than upward mobility. The noted spook performed menial jobs, overcame ridicule, and endured blatant racism to work towards his ultimate goal, revolution. Let me read something in the back then about Mr. Greenlee. It says that Sam Greenlee was born in 1930. He transitioned in 2014. He was a highly acclaimed, internationally known poet, novelist, playwright, screenwriter, producer, director, actor, and teacher. A former U.S. Information Agency Foreign Service officer. He is the author of Baghdad Blues and 3 collections of poetry. So, in fact, he was. Now, if everybody know the premise of the story, is that just as she outlined in the introduction, that ultimately what he ended up doing was to go and he put together a plan. They were going to take the arms from an armory on the south side of Chicago, and they were going to do a revolution. You got to remember, in 1968, 1969, we talked or heard a lot about the revolution. And so this is a seminal book. There was a movie that was made, again, The Spook Who Sat by the Door by Sam Greenlee. That is our book of the day. And so hopefully you get a chance to go out and read it. It's a great book. And again, The Spook Who Sat by the Door. There you go. And the interest, it was a play on words, because anybody knows in spying, spies are called spooks. Right. So, we have the very pejorative use of spook when they talk about black folks.
Yeah,
but in the CIA,
I misinterpreted
that you're a spook because you're a spy.
Oh,
Like a ghost, like you're invisible.
Spooky.
So spooky. So anyway, 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250.
Keith, how do you determine what books you're going to feature on for the day? Is it you let the spirit lead you? I mean, what happens?
You want the methodology?
Yeah.
I just be looking at my books and go, hey, looks like an interesting book. Hey, I like the color.
A whole lot of thought goes into it, huh?
Hey, that's well, yeah. I it's Black History Month, and I am man. I've been a reader, most of my life. I mean, I just love reading and getting books, and so that's how sometimes you look at it. Topical. Friday is the 50th anniversary, 60th anniversary, the assassination of Malcolm X.
wow.
And so I'll bring in some books as around. So it's like subjects if we're talking about. Tomorrow we'll have 2 books that we're going to feature. The Cross and the Lynching Tree by James Cone. And then we'll have with us tomorrow Dr. Demetrius Williams and his book, and it's a really long title. So let me make sure I get the title here. Yeah. So how you guys been as I'm looking for the title of the book?
Good, man. I can't complain. Certainly blessed and highly favored. Looking forward to coming out to hear you speak on Sunday.
Well, thank you. I'd love to hear you now. No pressure.
Look at the screen there. That's the one you're going to feature tomorrow?
That's the book we're featuring tomorrow, and along with the author of the book, Cross of Christ in the African American Christian Religious Experience, Dr. Demetrius Williams. So we'll also be featuring that book and actually have an in-depth conversation as part of Faith, Justice, Politics, and to talk about how it's really been fascinating because I've been reading and the idea of the cross and what it is, and let me tell you, his book is just incredible in terms of obviously the research. He's a scholar, but there were some really thought-provoking questions as it relates to Christianity in particular, that religion and the impact that Christianity has had on African people in the Western Hemisphere. That I would also say in Africa too, where Christianity and issues of the cross. We talked a lot about it and we so spiritualize it. But what does that cross mean? The symbol of that cross as a symbol, as an icon, and what it represents. Because Dr. Williams, his premise is what we can learn, the benefits from it in terms of certainly descendants of enslaved Africans and Africans in the New World. And but there's also problematic, and the Romans used the cross as an act for terrorism, basically state-sponsored terrorism, and that the example was, if you do this, this can happen to you. Jesus was not crucified because he came to save the world. Jesus was crucified because he was charged with sedition, right? And so we've developed a theology around the cross and what it means. I'm a Baptist preacher, and I had one of my former college classmates come up to me, came and heard me preach, and he go, Doc, that was a good message, but you didn't go by the cross. I said, well, this particular Sunday I wasn't talking about the cross, but if you're a Baptist preacher, a whole lot of us, we go by the cross. And I just think, when I look at the discussion, it's more than what we do. I did a series of sermons called Messages from the Cross, which was kind of taking those last 7 words of the cross and talked about different things. But I pointed out to people, sometimes we get so focused on the cross, we forget the Christ on the cross. And so we need to be mindful. And even there was theology happening from that, everything from that existential question when we're in a difficult situation, where is God, my God, why have thou forsaken me? The power of forgiveness and release, where forgive them for they know not what they do. There is the human agony of the cross. So there's a lot there. And then as I'll be very transparent about this, in my mind, that Christianity is a European religion and what it does. And he, in his book, Dr. Williams talks about how Christianity has been used to promote white supremacy. So it's going to be, I think, a very fascinating conversation. I've been very fortunate for the people who've been part of the discussions, starting with Dr. Richard Shaw, student minister William Muhammad. We had last week Pastor Walter Lanier, tomorrow Dr. Demetrius Williams, and because it is Black History Month, and I think March is Women's History Month, but I have the great pleasure of next Wednesday having with us the Reverend Dr. Trinette McCrae. So I think it's been a worthwhile conversation.
And what's Dr. Williams' book again?
The name of his book, you just had it up, was the
is that it there on screen?
The Cross of Christ in the African American Christian Religious Experience.
Oh, great. So you don't have to send me no email in the morning. I got it all right.
Thank you, man. I can sleep another 10 minutes. Thank you. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile. We spend more time talking about religion and God and Bible than was the original intent of mine.
Well, let me say this to you. There are so many that approach me that they simply just love when you start talking Bible and even the dialogue that you have with others who may not necessarily agree with your interpretation, but it's thought provoking. So there are those that really enjoy it. Just so you know that.
Well, I appreciate that.
I didn't say I was one of them.
I know. Jermaine, boy.
Jermaine, like Keon over there, man.
Like Keon,
this
man.
dude, man.
I was at Keon's funeral, and I had to tell all those 500 people there. Keon never thought I was a Christian.
Yeah.
He just never. He was just. But Keon, I'm an ordained Baptist minister. That didn't matter to Keon.
Views and opinions expressed on this show.
Oh my God!
That's the way he felt.
And I love to get him going. I just love the trick. But then you know what? I get him to 13, but he get me to 13 too.
Oh yeah.
He get me to 13, man. It just be like, but yeah, just throw it out there. And
when you say God, he or she, oh boy.
Oh Lord. Oh, he ain't the only one though.
Oh yeah, I know. There's several.
Wait a minute. I got some preach brother out there who,
that listen.
Yeah, they listen and they go, I don't know what, and I'm going, and here's what's amazing. I don't know if I remember hearing this term. Sometimes we major in the minors. I mean, it and I'm gonna say this: it don't matter how you address God. It is what you're addressing to God. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we get into all the things that people, and they become like barriers in terms of people getting there, because you got to go through all these things. Again, I was telling them before I went on the air, boy, I tell you, this funny church video has become like crack for me. And there was a brother who, I guess he had a problem with the election they had at the Church of God in Christ. And so he started speaking in tongue and prophesying. G.E. Patterson shut him down so cold.
Is that the one he put out?
Yeah.
That's the one he put
out.
I
seen that. Yeah.
He was talking about people gonna die.
Yeah, people gonna die.
He said, well, I just went back and looked.
Yeah.
He said, I just went and looked 2 weeks ago.
Ain't nobody died
yet.
Yeah.
And so,
because I remember he said, ain't this the one that was just here the last time?
Right. They had to walk about last year. So, and you would have that where people would go, a lot of times that's problematic. People in the charismatic Pentecostal movement, where people get up and they say that they prophesied, and you kind of going like, yeah, well, God is lying. Yeah, God is not the author of confusion. That is in the scriptures, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I thought that. So you get up in the middle of service and all of a sudden God is getting, and then, then it gets all problematic, because tongues become problematic on a lot of different levels, because problematic, when I'm saying problematic in terms of you have to have an interpreter, and, it's all those things. And again, because we major in minors, where we do piety, the bottom line, that's a hint, come to hear me. The bottom line is your behavior.
Come on, man.
That's that you got people can come in, isn't it something? And because we're all human beings, you all been backstage with gospel performers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jack, listen here.
Backstage.
Oh, it's a whole different.
It's a whole different thing.
Now don't y'all put their business in.
Oh, I ain't gonna say
no. I'm just saying, backstage they're human.
Oh yeah,
they're real human.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden, and every now and then, their humanity breaks out. I'll never forget. Oh, poor Kim Burrell. She just got up and had a meltdown. Her private moment became public. These are human beings, man. Yeah. And so we should not be as judgmental, but then at the same time, people get out and they talk about holiness, and then you come to find out they're a little less holy.
Like you ain't holy at all.
Yeah.
Keith, you ever heard the one about the preacher that invited a bunch of preachers by his house? He had a little bar out there. He said, hey, y'all come on out. They all out on the patio. He said, well, I got a full bar here. It's just us here. Ain't nobody else, don't worry about it. So they give me a brandy and Coke. Give me a Hennessy on the rocks. So everybody got him a drink, and they looked around and said, you ain't gonna have no? He said, no, I'm saved.
Trick set up.
Set them all up to go to hell.
It's a setup. It just be like, I always said this, when I was growing up, here was the difference. Baptists smoked on the parking lot. Pentecostals smoked at home.
But they all smoke.
Everybody smoking.
Yeah.
And I was listening to this, what did I know? We got to go. And he made a great point. This dude has this big church down in, I think he's in Houston, and he go, oh, we can't smoke. We can smoke weed together, but we can't praise God together.
What? Oh, that's like the guy at Keon's funeral. We talk about
Hey,
God,
man, come
smoke
on,
weed,
man. Wait, hey,
talk
man,
about God
come
all
on,
the time.
He made a good point.
Hey, but you know what?
We can party together, but we can't worship together.
But I'm gonna tell you something. Even though this is gonna sound crazy, some of the deepest conversations that I've had with some people was when some of these people was under the influence, but they was talking about God, speaking about the things that happened to them, but still under the influence, and that just showed me that God is powerful than what your influence
You
is.
just had one of them other moments. They were
no, seriously, no.
You weren't out of that.
No. This was me actually standing there talking to them outside of church.
Were you witnessing?
No, it was just a conversation. They saw me. It was a conversation, but they knew that I used to live the street life.
That Flunder
Right.
said something that was very interesting. She said she didn't know if she was going to answer the call to ministry. So she said, I sat down with my Bible, a glass of wine, and a joint.
You had to choose, huh?
No, to make her decision.
Wow.
She needed some enlightening.
That's right.
Open my eyes, Father, so that I may
ain't
see.
tell anybody
I'm
how
out
to
of
get
that
the guy. I ain't telling
I heard you, Mano.
I'm out of that one,
I
Jack.
know you are. You're listening to Community Voice at the bottom of the hour. We'll be joined by. We'll be back.
WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM with your host, Keith Parris.
All right, welcome back, and we're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Brenda Buchanan and Miss Nancy Leahy. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning, Captain.
When it's cold outside.
Tis the May. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we might have to go that far. Forget
All
May.
the places my grandfather could have moved. Oh, a lot of people went to California. No.
Then you would have been burned up in the wildfires. All the fires and earthquakes. See, it's
weather everywhere. I think that's what we're getting, that there's weather everywhere. And I just saw where they said that they had plow trucks from Milwaukee down in St. Louis.
Oh, did they?
Right. And then they sent some folks down to New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
But they're not prepared. And New
No.
Orleans at one point had more snow than us.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
could see New Orleans, but St. Louis, don't they get snow?
They do. Oh, they needed help.
Just too much.
Too
Okay.
much. I mean, and a lot of times, based on those environments, it's like if you're in Denver, Colorado, it could snow today and be 65 tomorrow.
tomorrow.
So a
Mhm.
lot of it melts. But man, when you get a vortex that just kind of hangs around, and that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. I knew that cold air was coming from Canada at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that it is probably warmer in some spots of Alaska right now than it is here.
Here, yeah.
So it is it is cold. And let's just kind of go through some of the things. You hear people. I was just out, and for exposed skin, you can really feel that cold.
Very quickly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, you want to bundle up. If you're just starting to get red, it's time to go inside. If you get numbness and tingling in your fingers and toes, it's time to go inside.
If you turn red.
What happens
Your
when they
skin
fall
gets
off?
real
Is it too
red.
late, or is it still time to go
It's time
inside?
to do something, but if it's coming quick if you don't get in there.
Hey, Doc, if it fall off, you're gonna need some Elmer's glue to put it back on.
Hey,
Duct tape or something.
Let me tell you, I don't know if Julie is listening or not, but she used to do nail. She was educated to do nails, for diabetic patients. And one guy, when she pulled off his sock, his toe fell off. Yeah.
Wah, 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 wah.
It's like,
Wait, the whole toe just
The
came
toe
off.
fell
Hey,
off.
we don't
Yeah.
need thank you,
Yeah.
Brenda.
Yeah.
And the visual on that.
He's a leper. He's a leper.
Stop it, Keith.
Julie, start praying over him. No.
She too late. Toe gone. Too late.
Yeah, right, right.
That's not supposed to be funny, team.
I didn't know. I'm laughing to keep from crying. Oh my God! But no, we saw a group. They brought a group of kids last night to Real Man Real Talk, and let me tell you, man, youth and vanity, and they was just out in hoodies.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yes.
but these are the same kids who wear hoodies, like a fleece hoodie on a 90-degree day.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, it
That's
but
something else, too. I think the elevator don't quite make it to the top floor.
no, but you know what, man? When you kids, vanity becomes, real important. I can.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
I can-
mental illness.
You think it's mental illness?
There's no way you run around on a 102-degree day in a black hoodie.
Yeah.
Well, you remember I was sharing about the lady at the football game that had on a short leather skirt and it was, it was below zero. I mean, I had a parka, had everything on at a
Mental
Packers game.
illness.
It's like, okay.
No, I think, we kind of get into exercise. We'll talk about that, but vanity is, when you're looking cute. I went to an
Or
event.
when you think you're looking cute.
Well,
Let's add that
Thank you,
in.
Brenda, because
denial is not just a river in Egypt.
That's
But no,
right.
I went to this event. It snowed. I had my pimp shoes on. I looked like Nancy Kerrigan. I was slipping and sliding. Yeah, trying to be cute.
What did the young guy say to you, Keith?
Sir, it's slippery.
Old school. Hey, old school.
School.
And if that didn't really hurt your vanity, I
Oh
don't know
man,
what
no,
did.
I mean, because he was right. I'm sitting there
Uh-huh.
going like, I picked the wrong day and the wrong weather
Right.
to wear these shoes. And Oh
What?
man.
Let me see.
Oh, I saw those. I don't know. Keith might have rocked those back.
Oh,
in the day.
man. We can pipify anything.
Boy, Jesus.
Oh man. But anyway, yeah. So y'all be careful. You know, it is this is brutal weather.
It is.
And the warming centers are open, and you know, the one thing though is not windy, which, you know, I mean, it's not extreme. There is a breeze out there, but when it's windy, and I think that's one of the considerations they have when they're going to close school,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because their kids are on the bus stop, and now there's those of us from a different generation go like, they so soft. They so soft.
Your mom was like, "You going out
You
that
going
door?"
to school, put your whole wardrobe on, but you going to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, wind chill. What wind chill?
Oh man.
I don't even know when they introduced this idea of wind chill. I can remember my old junior high school is right around the corner here. I lived a mile from, and it was like 12 below. They didn't
Mhm.
cancel school, and my mother wasn't gonna let me stay at home.
Yeah.
So she did give me bus fare. I didn't need to catch the bus.
No, he wanted to keep his money.
I kept that, but I didn't need to catch the bus. I braved the cold. It was, but no, I think and it was. I was listening. These folks on these frozen lakes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So a guy was out on a snowmobile,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh,
he
and it
went-
fell through.
Ugh.
And he was in there like an hour or something,
That's
wasn't he? Before they
amazing.
could
Yeah,
rescue him.
They
Yeah.
did get him out for hypothermia,
Yeah.
but they were saying that was what happened with the plane crash
Oh,
in
really?
Washington.
in Washington.
Yeah,
that a lot of
it was
people.
hypothermia.
It was hypothermia.
Oh,
They couldn't get out the water.
Wow.
Yeah, they said it was what, about 30 degrees. I
Yeah.
think they said. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, so hypothermia is real. We don't think about it like it. Could give us symptoms of what hypothermia might look like, feel like.
Well, I think first, I mean, you'll feel those cold, like you feel cold, you'll feel, like she said, numbness, tingling, some burning. But then actually, as it progresses, you're not going to be feeling those things. Actually, you'll start to feel warm. You'll start to feel sleepy. You'll start to feel that things aren't so bad, really. And that's actually very dangerous. And those
like
are
a euphoria.
yes, and that's
Mhm.
when it's very serious and very dangerous. So
That's
Because you don't
interesting.
realize just how bad things are. Because like Nancy, you start to feel better. But you're actually, your heart rate is probably slowing down, and
The human body is an incredible machine.
Mhm.
That it's Go ahead.
all the blood is like rushing or going to your
organs. your-
organs on the internally, not your extremities. So you kind of lose that sensation of your hands. So it's trying to protect your most vital organs. So it's going to your brain, going to your heart, your lungs, and then eventually it'll slow that down.
Let me try to sound learned here just for a moment. This is gonna be like Nancy going. This is gonna be a stretch.
What did I say?
But is the body triaging?
Real, yeah, that's exactly what it's doing. It's saying, you know what, you could do without those fingers and toes. Matter of fact, you know what, you can probably live without that arm. But we have to, but your lungs, your heart, your liver, all of that has got to keep going to survive. So that's what it uses all its energy for that.
On a day like today, people are going to be out, be exposed. Are there certain foods that we should avoid? I'm obviously coffee, right? That'd be one of them.
Avoid it
Yeah, on a
because
cold
of the
day, you're going out.
caffeine.
Well, yeah, going out. No,
I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I think if any, I mean, you want to continue to eat healthy foods. I mean, not overeat. If you're going to be outside in the cold, because then your body's already working harder, and then if you've got all just eating a huge meal, you're diverting even more to your GI system to kind of digest that food. But I don't know if there's anything necessarily to avoid.
what about like would starches be because you're going to be burning more?
Well, good starches, I mean, that's where you're getting your energy from. So, your complex carbohydrates or those carbs that aren't simple, like cakes, cookies, pies, the real sugary things, but really more the whole grains and that sort of stuff is where your good energy source is coming from. If you don't have any of that and your body's working hard, then it's going to go to your fat muscle.
Right? Don't we say that on a cold day you're supposed to have a bowl of oatmeal before you go?
Mhm.
Something
Whole
like
grains.
that.
Mhm. They do.
I hate oatmeal.
Cream of wheat.
I was going to say
Cream of wheat. Now,
wheat.
cream of wheat's the bomb.
What was the other one? Cocoa wheats.
Cocoa wheats.
I don't know. Do they even still make that?
Oh,
But as
sure.
a kid, I loved cocoa wheats.
I love cream of wheat, man. I could tell you, I've become a big fan of grits now. But
I was just going to say
love,
grits too.
I love. You don't like grits, man?
I had a bad experience with grits. I had somebody cook it one time, and it tastes like it was little pebbles in it. It's like hard little grits, pebbles, and then
Well,
grits.
grits. I mean, depending on the type. I mean, they're grainy.
Yeah,
They're not as soft as like a cream of wheat, but there are some types that,
Cream of wheat would just.
Dude, cream of wheat is
Yeah,
just smooth. It's-
Well,
like, there's a restaurant here. It's a chain I went to, and they have grits, and I didn't like their grits because they were too almost potato-ish.
You do
I like them a little more
So,
grainy. Huh?
sugar or salt? on your
I'm
grits?
a salt and pepper on my grits.
I put sugar in my cream of wheat.
Ooh, my grandmother used to. That was the treat, man. On
Was
Saturdays.
the sugar?
Oh
No,
my God.
I mean the sugar in the grits.
You get sugar this weekend.
Sugar or cream of wheat. The sugar in it. It's not
Everybody
very
gets sugar.
tasty
You get
plain.
sugar.
Cream of
You
wheat
get sugar.
is not very tasty
No.
without anything. in it.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Butter.
I was gonna say
Sugar.
butter.
Mhm.
Butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about malto meal?
You know, I don't know if I ever even had malto meal.
They
Isn't
had
that
great-
similar?
I was
Yeah,
gonna say it's
those
got to be
bootleg
like
version of cream of wheat.
I think so. Seems
Mm.
like
But malto meal was like really. They had just great promotion. They advertised
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
But we're talking about we were a family on a budget.
Yeah.
So cream of wheat, no. Grits,
Yeah.
yes. Somebody asked, what is a grit? But that's meal, right? Isn't it like cornmeal?
It's hominy, isn't it?
Hominy?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
It's
hominy is a
Corn.
potato? Corn?
Corn.
So do grits come from the name of it being gritty? Or
I don't know where that derivation. Let's look it up.
the history
Yeah.
of grits.
The history of
Mhm.
grits.
Where
Yeah, 'cause
does the
I'm like,
word?
man,
Now, back when I was out east in Maryland, DC, they used to say like, and I'll drop it every now and then, like dude gritted on you.
Oh,
And I think that's more like grit your teeth,
yeah,
like you got gritted on.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Comes from the Old English word grit, GRYTT, which means coarse meal.
Oh,
Hmm.
what?
Yep.
No, your
Coarse meal.
know your
And
history.
it's actually German.
Wow.
It's a German derivation. Yes.
grits.
There we go. Now we know.
My mother
Course
used
meal. So
to-
next time you can say, you're eating some course meal. Do you like that?
Course meals.
The people they swear by the benefits of oatmeal. What is the benefits of oatmeal?
Mm.
High fiber. So will help with like lowering cholesterol. It'll be digested slower, so it shouldn't raise your blood sugar as much as some simpler carbohydrates. But you need to have like the real oatmeal, not the instant oatmeal in the packages.
So when I
Yeah.
hear, I know Rhonda, she does steel cut.
Mhm.
What is that?
Mm.
The steel cut, they don't look like what you would think necessarily oatmeal looks like. They tend to be a little harder, grittier. I don't know.
And do
how
you have to
explain.
cook them longer?
You
right?
do have
They're
to
not
cook
the
them
instant
longer,
oats.
but they're like little, almost like little tubes. I don't know the best way to describe them. But they're not the little flat, typical what we look at as oatmeal. It's it's not refined at all. So very good for you.
What about vitamin C? How important is that this time of year?
for immunity, it is definitely. We're trying to keep ourselves healthy from colds, and obviously the flu is pretty rampant, and COVID, or just viruses in general. So vitamin C is important. Vitamin D is important. There's other kind of anecdotally herbal type of things. I know My mom would have said, make sure you take some garlic.
Hmm.
I was really,
Echinacea.
I was
Yeah.
really surprised at the medicinal benefit of garlic.
Hmm. Well, you look at almost all of our medicines, everything comes from the earth. I mean, almost everything. It started out there.
Right.
It may have been refined over and over again and stuff added to it and everything, but almost everything came from what we naturally have in the earth. So,
And that, in terms of garlic,
well, garlic too. I mean, being, meaning that it's, you take everything has some
It has some
benefit to it.
antimicrobial
Mhm.
effects to it, and so that's like she's saying, back when we had no other means of medicine, people would treat illnesses and ailments just with kind of herbs, and that was one of them.
Garlic for your
and,
infections
and Vicks vapor rub.
That was
rub.
back then too. Yes.
Yep, right. Before Vicks. I don't know, but when I sprained my arm, I don't know how old, and my uncle, it worked though, and now I understand why it worked. He soaked rags in turpentine and wrapped them around, because you weren't going to no doctor for a twisted arm. That wasn't going to happen. I don't care if you can't move it at all. So he soaked it
Well, if it
in
fall off.
turpentine and wrapped it around. Well, it kind of drew the inflammation out, the fluid out. And so now I understand that. But back then, it didn't smell good and my arm was wrapped in turpentine. So.
But it's amazing how, though, we do have these things. You said everything comes from the earth,
Mhm.
and how it's been trial and error, observation, that is usually research, right? In terms of, we find out that these things can be used for a medical benefit. We talked about it before at the beginning of the season. A whole lot of folks used to have to do cod liver oil.
Mhm.
Where those things where, and it's interesting because with our diet, used to hear people say that I eat to live, I don't live to eat. But there are people who do live to eat.
Oh, yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
And so then when
I think most people live
think
to
so?
eat. Yes. I think there's some people that only eat when they're hungry, or I even knew somebody who just didn't like to eat at all. So they preferred that their meals were just all liquid,
was that
because
an eating
they weren't.
disorder?
I'm sure it was some sort. I mean, they would
Same.
eat, but if you just left it up to them, if it was easy, they would just make all kinds of drinks and drink them. But he said that when he ate something, he would just eat it for like a couple weeks straight because it was easy. Just order the same thing and he would eat it. But eating was not, he didn't get joy out of eating the way a lot of us get joy out of eating.
And so when we talk about that psychological benefit, if there's that we get from enjoying a meal, but why don't we enjoy healthier meals than we do non-healthy meals?
I think a lot of these are high fat, high sugar, all those things that just really taste good right away. But I find that the healthier you get, when you exercise, you crave more of the healthier foods. Your body gets used to it and wants it, and your body knows what it's getting, the appropriate minerals and vitamins and all of that. And I think you crave that. But I think people that they get caught in that sugar game where their body craves the sugar or the fat, and so it's just a quick fix. But I think overall, the healthier you get, you may still want a burger, or you want that, but your body tends to really crave some of those healthier options.
Let's pick it up when we get back, because we talked about people who stopped eating red meat and then tried to eat it again.
Rough.
You're listening to Community Voice. We're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Brenda Buchanan, Miss Nancy Leahy, Ascension, Wisconsin. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Inside Community Voice on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM with your host, Keith Parris.
Welcome back, and we're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Brenda Buchanan and Miss Nancy Leahy. Julie will be back next week.
I'm sure coming back from being in Arizona to this today isn't really exciting for her.
Oh man, that's crazy. You're right. When you travel someplace that's warm and then you come back and
it's not just cold, it's cold.
Back to life, back to reality.
Right?
It's like, oh man. But we were talking though, and I just kind of got into let's get us into exercise. But our mental health around eating and how either it impacts our mental health, impacts our eating, or our eating impacts our mental health, right?
Both.
Yeah. It can be a real struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when people struggle, especially being overweight and really trying to control that, and actually sometimes feeling out of control when they're eating, it can lead to a lot more stress, some depression, some anxiety, all kinds of mental health issues. So it's all connected for sure.
Mm-hmm. And, I know we both see sometimes when people overeat and they're just so hard on themselves when they lose control for that
shame
day.
cycle.
Yes. They're just so, and then that just is like, well, forget it. I'm just going to eat.
Right.
I already started.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but you can, I know that there is, we talk about it. I think that the psychological need, you're under a lot of stress, for example, you had stress at work. Well, the one thing you can do is eat.
Mm-hmm.
You can't drink until you get off.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times that's where, how we handle and manage stress,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of leads us into the importance of exercise as an outlet for dealing with stress.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know what I would do without exercise. When I went through a period of depression many, many years ago, probably 30 years ago now. And exercise was a big piece of being able to get out of that. Once I started to feel a little bit better, that's what got me out of it and kept me out of it was exercise, and obviously trying to eat better. All of those things, but exercise releases some of those good feelings, endorphins that help with pain control. They just make you feel better. You talk about people, they say the runner's high, those people that run every day. Without it, they are a very different person when they're unable to exercise. So
You're a runner, right?
I was. Yeah. No, the knees don't hold up anymore.
Yeah. But when what did you get from running?
I really did enjoy it. I think I always had a goal. So I was like training for a race or something like that. So that kept me very motivated. In between times, I think consistency is really important with any kind of exercise program. And so the more I did it, to Brenda's point, I felt like if I didn't do something, I felt like I was missing out. So, but I really think it doesn't have to be running, because I think that's a lot for people to take up as
it does take a toll on you.
Yeah, and as an exercise program. But we talk about, like, in our classes, like the activity we do throughout the day can add up. So it doesn't have to be one long strenuous exercise program or hour or whatever it needs to be. I think we're saying the recommendation is about 150 minutes of exercise a week is important. And really, when you break that down, that could be about 30 minutes 5 times a week. And you can break up those 30 minutes into 3 10-minute sessions. It doesn't have to be all at once. So it doesn't have to be overwhelming. We can keep it simple. It can start with just walking.
What about, one of the things, and again, if I'm off base, please let me know. I'm sure you will. People who will exercise to lose weight. My understanding is that you should try to diversify that exercise routine because what the body does is the body's realize this is what I'm going to do every day at this time. So is that true?
That's true. And, you know, exercise, especially, I mean, can help you burn some calories. But if you really want effective weight loss, you have to change the way you eat. Exercise alone is not going to do it, unless obviously you're exercising to the extreme, which most people don't. But, you know, exercise, especially when you're doing, you know, weights and some of those other kinds of things, the weight training, it really makes you look better. So, you know, it firms your body up, you get more definition. So even if you haven't lost a lot of weight, you look better because of that exercise. But if your goal is really to lose a significant amount of weight, you have to really focus on your diet. We always say 80% diet, 20% exercise. The two of them together are a perfect fit. And like you said, varying your exercises. You need cardio, but you also need strengthening. You need flexibility. You need all of a good exercise program should incorporate all of that.
Yeah, when I was in the 20th century, when I was in high school, one of the things as a basketball player, they didn't want us lifting weights.
I don't. That wouldn't be the case now. I'm sure now.
Everything is resistance.
Yeah.
Is resistance training because they felt like you would get bulky, but that wasn't the case based on your body type. So I think now that you have things like resistance training, where, you know, and even if you ever go do physical therapy, I know I did with my back, there was a certain level of resistance that I had to do, and then stretching. And then the important thing in your conditioning is strengthening your core.
Absolutely. And when we talk about core, we're talking about our chest, our abdominal muscles, our hips, our glutes, all of that is core. Most people think core, they just think of their abdominals, but really all of this in here, yes, needs to strengthening. You know, a lot of our back issues are related to either a strong core or not a lot of flexibility. When you're talking about running is great. And people doing a lot of weights, but they have no flexibility. Those muscles tighten up, so they don't have good, you know, joint mobility. But the core, you know, your ability to sit up good, go for long walks, protecting your back, protecting your internal organs. Everything is about core.
It was as I was doing snow this weekend, I thought about you in terms of, well, one, it was easy snow to move.
Yes, it was.
It really was. So it wasn't like when we got the snow, I think back in October, November, where it was really
heavy, wet.
Because it's warmer, right? Still warm. And so it tends to be, but even how we're out, which you can get some great exercise.
Oh, yeah. You feel it. You start to get hot. Feel that heart rate up.
Got to bend your knees. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, the whole, but even picking up boxes, we don't think about that around the house. We're picking up things and we bend over as opposed to bending our knees.
Good body mechanics.
Getting things out of the, you know, I used to teach a functional exercise. It was mostly older people. Staying strong so you can get things out of the cabinet. You can get up off the floor. You can pick up your groceries and move them around. All of that stuff people lose as they get older if they don't work on it, right?
I was going to say Brenda was giving me grief when I was pulling a cart rather than pushing it. I'm like, all right,
push, don't pull. She's like, well, it's too late now.
Push, don't pull. Well, why is that? What's the difference in terms of?
Well, push, you're using your body weight, your momentum, your strength to push a cart. When you're pulling it, you're putting everything is being stressed out. You're more likely to injure your back. You're more likely to injure your chest muscles because you're walking backwards and you're pulling. You're not using the weight of your own body to help move that object. So you want to push, not pull. Sometimes it's necessary to pull. I'll tell you, I'm glad my snow blower has a reverse on it. So I don't have to pull it back. I can put it in reverse and it comes back.
By the way, if you're interested in purchasing a snowblower, I might have one for sale. Seeing I can never get the bad boy started. I got a state-of-the-art snowblower, and I cannot how about get a snowblower that you can operate, right? Like keep it simple,
Why
stupid.
can't you get it started?
Either the gas, because the intervals between when it snowed,
Mm-hmm.
and so they told me I was supposed to run the old gas out last year, but even when I didn't look like there was any gas in there, but I couldn't get it started this year, so I'm gonna get a smaller one, and because this is just too frustrating.
Yeah,
This is a whole
That
lot.
happened to us too. We
Really?
had to have it taken in, and it was bad gas. or
Bad
whatever.
gas, yeah. And I
so-
thought it would make a difference because it
Something
used to
that-
be you had a mixture of gas in
Mhm.
there, and
Yeah.
gas and oil, but now it's different chambers.
Yeah.
But man, it's just like,
Mhm.
and then I'd have to take it to the guy, which means and this is heavy, man. This is a big
Yeah.
blower.
Well, there's places that'll pick up, they'll charge, and there's people that will come to your home and repair it. But I guess maybe if yours is probably still under warranty.
It may or may not be, but and then I didn't take the price tag off of it. So every time I'm looking at it, like, I mean, on that damn money. And I can't even
that's
get
the
the
bad
thing
reminder.
right. The bed, just another reminder of another poor purchase that I made in my life. But yeah, I mean, it. So thank God for my neighbors who are very generous in terms of doing a lot of. They'll certainly the sidewalks. Where you can. And this is an interesting thing. I don't know if this is the case for you, but there is a certain. I've been using this word a lot this morning. A certain vanity. So you kind of go out and look at how the snow was done.
And then you have an opinion about that.
Yeah. You kind of go like, wow, that looks pretty good, because the practical reason is getting the snow up so people don't slip and fall.
Right.
But you kind of want it to look,
Oh, yeah.
decent.
Aesthetically good.
Yeah,
Nice.
Thank you. Right, the aesthetics of removing snow. I don't know if anybody comes along and go like, boy, let's give him an A for that. That really looks good. But your line, it's like your lawn. You
Yeah.
want your line straight.
Mhm.
But yeah, and from a guy who sits out and literally watch my grass grow, I do. After I cut the grass, I will. You want to admire your
It
handiwork.
is beautiful after it's first cut.
Right. So you
Mhm.
just kind of sitting there going like, oh, that little line. And my godson now is my lawn service, and so he's gotten very good at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but I go out and look like, and then in Milwaukee, our law is that if it's over 2 inches, it has to be up within 24 hours.
Oh, on the sidewalks.
On the
and
sidewalks,
that, yeah.
so then you be
Oh.
looking at the one neighbor who hadn't done their like, dude,
Get out there and do it.
do dogs are going to be walking through here pretty soon?
Yeah.
I have a neighbor that often does my driveway the majority of the time. Like the other day, I had my snowboard, put gas in, I was ready to go. I got up at 5 a.m. I didn't even hear him. My driveway was done. But he is one of those. It always looks good. Like when I do it, it's a necessary job. Let me clear this driveway. My driveway's not huge, but you can fit 6 cars in it easily.
And that's not huge.
But I'll just do
That's
enough to
not
get one
huge.
car. I mean, it does. I mean, you can get 7 in there if you try, but you can easily get 6 in there because it's wider too, so it's
So
double.
we have a party at your house. There's a shuttle from the other annex parking lot that you have.
Yeah. Well,
6
right.
cars in your drive. That's pretty. That's
Yeah.
a pretty
6
long
cars.
driveway.
That's a very comfortable. Is 6 cars.
So
That's
6
usually
cars,
what I
about
get in
12
there.
bikes.
12 bikes.
12
Yeah,
bikes.
about 6 cars,
Yeah.
about 12 bikes.
I mean,
But
big
nobody
wheels.
wants to be the first one up because if you
93.
feel like you might leave early, you can have to have everybody come pull their car. But anyway, I'm saying this because
That's a pet peeve of
be-
mine.
Why you park so close and you know
You
leave
know you
early?
gotta
No,
go.
they're gonna leave-
You know
they're
you
gonna
gotta
park
go.
right out in front of the house. Don't drive up in the driveway. But he's one of those that it always looks really good. His is the house in the neighborhood whose driveway looks great. I mean, even after he does it, he's still out there scraping with the shovel, getting it all perfect. So I was very grateful when I woke up the other morning at 5 o'clock, and because I wanted to get out and get going because I knew I had to go to work, and it was done. I was like, oh, I didn't even hear him.
No, my buddy, he says, you know what, Keith, you are such a contradiction. I think many of us are, but I certainly am, that, you will do something and then the perfectionist in me kicks in. And so like the littlest detail I'm now focused on, because most of the time I'm not really focused, but it's just kind of going like,
Yeah.
I'm not going. No, I need to go do it. So you're right, making sure you get it all the way down. That it just looks symmetric. Is that?
I think your husband likes things very
I was gonna say
perfect,
I
doesn't
had
he?
one. Oh God. Yeah.
We're on the couch, y'all.
Yeah.
To the
Like-
point that she
There
doesn't
you go.
touch that. She doesn't touch the.
Oh, yes, the one and only time I mowed our lawn.
Because you were being kind. He
I was
was
being
busy.
kind.
Yes.
He came home and he stood on the patio in his arms and he was just trying so hard to be like, thanks. And
Thanks,
then a little
Nancy.
bit later, he was like, don't you ever do that again. Like, noted.
It's like,
Poor Nancy. She
I
was
like,
just
wow,
trying
I
to
thought I was
help.
helping.
Rhonda, she says, you need to let me know when you go out and do the snow. Are you coming to help? No, just in case I die, so you know where the insurance papers are. You need to let me know that you're going out. Like, are you going to come help me though? That becomes, but no, and that I can appreciate that in terms of, once I get started, then it's just like, hey man, we gotta, as a general rule, I'm not a joiner. I don't go looking for work. But once we start doing it, man, it's just like, is this, and the crazy thing is this, as much as I hated geometry in school, there's still a lot of geometric thinking, especially when it comes to straight lines. Like I don't know, this is so weird, but I can hang a picture and the line is straight, and go figure.
Yeah.
But I struggled in geometry. But be able to do it now, sometimes it becomes almost an obsession.
Yeah.
Where now, you're focusing on it and it's kind of like, dude, my buddy used to say, dude, you can't make it any better than you already made it. Leave it alone. You're messing it up now.
Yeah.
Because you get to the point that, it just goes over.
One time I had a hard time getting a piece of furniture in the house. It just was not going. Tried it. They were trying it every other way. My son's like, get out of here. So he did a little calculation, measured everything, did a little calculation on a piece of paper and said, this is how we do it. And boom, it just came right in.
Unlike
where it would have never gotten in that house if he wasn't there.
Unlike my wino Uncle Money. You're tearing it up, boy. Dude, you ain't helping us move nothing. This refrigerator is heavy, but it's love when you hear people try to give you direction. Don't turn it. Don't turn it. He's kind of going like, man, we can't turn it anymore. It's already been turned,
Yeah.
And then somebody like your son will come along and go, no, here's what you need to do.
You know what that story reminded me of? Have you ever seen that cartoon with the rooster and the little boy, and he was trying to tell the rooster was trying to tell the little boy how to do stuff, and he just was writing stuff down. He was figuring it out, and he was showing the rooster, and that's just kind of what that reminded me of, that Saturday morning cartoon of how he figured out the whole dynamics of things, and then he figured it out by writing it out and using math. So,
But
laws of physics and
right.
all of that.
But I think it's also when you talk about exercise, do you have a plan?
Yes. And that, every week, other than the classes I teach, every week I go through my app at the WAC and I plan out based on my schedule, what I'm doing. Cause then I feel a little bit more accountable. And part of the reason I started teaching was cause then I didn't have, like last night, I wouldn't, if I were just in a class, I wouldn't have shown up because it was so cold. But I had to because I'm the instructor. So I had to show up.
And that's a good point to say, like when you're planning with your app, but just even scheduling it into your day. So when, a lot of people keep calendars, like keep a work calendar and their meeting times and stuff, schedule it in there. You're more likely to do something if you see it.
I used to get up early and on a day like today to go work out. And I really worked hard when I got there because I figured, dude,
if I'm up
if
here,
I'm up,
yeah.
battled this weather, I need to make this worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Not just an exercise in futility, but exercise plans are really important. When you're a physical therapist, they have a plan. They know what it's going to take based on the level of what they're trying to repair and what it's going to take. The problem that you have sometimes is that you don't see immediate results and you get frustrated.
Very.
And then you have to point out to people, dude, it took you 30 years to gain this weight. You're not going to lose it in 30 minutes.
Right.
And I think they say something like after 4 weeks, you might start to notice difference yourself. And then after like maybe 8 weeks, others will notice that difference. So it's the long game you have to
Mhm.
kind of play. Another tip, like I'm a early morning exerciser, so I set out my clothes the night before, so I know it's all there, just sitting there waiting for me. If you have to like get up and start rummaging around for things, I mean, there's a lot of excuses you can make.
It was funny. They said that I'd heard this that there was a man who worked for President Obama. His whole job was picking out what he was going to wear. They said because if you're the leader of the free world, the last thing you need to be worried about is what you're wearing that day.
Mhm.
You know, to be able to think about, but the plan. I when I was coaching, one of the books I read was Modern Basketball by John Wooden. And what he talked about was in practice, there was no wasted time or wasted energy. It was scripted. You did 15 minutes at here, you had 15 minutes here, and you got the optimum out of what you were doing from point A to point B. A lot of times we do things and it's just like, no, if you just stay focused on what it is that you need to do, understand we're moving from here to here. Let's talk about something with exercise, though. Let's talk about the pain sometimes that goes along with exercise.
Before that, I want to add too that you need to find something that works for you and some people are class people. Some people like to work out by themselves. Some people like a gym atmosphere. Some people you could just work out at home. You don't have to have special equipment. You don't have to have any of that. So, people think you got to have a gym membership. You don't have to have any of that. There's a million YouTube videos that are free, from stretching to you name it. You can say, 20-minute workout for the elderly or seriously. And you'll see a ton of those.
This is Chad. We're going to do our workout today.
Pull up a chair. We're going to work out in our chair yoga. Seriously.
Chad has got me through a whole lot, Nancy. Because, it was kind of like, Keith, your whole life has been looking up. Then as a general sense, because we're just gifted with naturally engineered and mathematical minds, it's like, no, you're not. But now I'll go and look it up like, well, how do you do this? And then you go in and I've gotten Chad a couple of times. Hi, this is Chad. And it's like, oh, okay, what we're going to do today? Everything from changing the battery in your car remote. Right? I mean, it was just like, because I couldn't figure it out. And I just went to YouTube and
there you go.
Which is a real benefit, I think, now that you're just to be able to get instructions on how to do the things and then doing it right.
Yeah.
I know when I used to watch people lift weights. Now, back in the day, Bally's had a machine which you could measure, the amount of effort that you was putting in. It also let you know you were doing it wrong. Right. And I think that a lot of times with resistance training, people do it wrong.
Yeah.
Which opens up the opportunity then for injury.
Definitely for injury. You have to be careful, not overdoing it, not going in thinking I can lift this many weights. You really got to start out small. And if you can have somebody there to help you, especially if you're going to be at a gym, familiarize yourself with the equipment, how to use it properly. All of that makes a difference. And you're probably going to have some discomfort with exercise, which isn't a bad thing, not necessarily while you're doing it. So if you're feeling pain while you're doing exercise, you should stop doing that. And it could be, again, maybe the weight is too large or your body mechanics aren't quite right. Or you've got an injury or a weakness in that area and you're doing too much with it. But discomfort is a little bit different, right? We're always going to have discomfort when we're doing something.
That's what I was going to ask you. Let's say I'll never forget this guy's coming the first time he's going to work out. He's with his wife. So that turned into something else. And so I was telling him, like, dude, this is your first day. You might want to take it easy. Okay. Because what's going to happen is your adrenaline is going to kick in. And you might be able to do maybe one or two of these. But one, you open up yourself for injury. But I was going to ask you, so is there a difference between soreness and pain?
Oh, yeah. So I would say you're going to expect some soreness, especially when you're starting a weightlifting program, I would say, in general. Just because if it's new movement that you're not doing, you probably will feel a little sore the next day, a couple of days after that. But to Brenda's point, you shouldn't be feeling like strain and pain during those exercises. You should, though, if you're doing like repetitions, by the last couple of reps, you should be struggling a little bit. And
Fatigue.
yes,
Yep,
and
your
that
muscles are
that
getting
is
fatigued.
your muscles going to be growing then over time.
Right.
So that's that progressive overload that you need to have in order to get stronger.
I know I which is so weird, but I don't know why it just kicked in. At the end of every basketball practice, we had to do suicides.
Mhm.
Right? Everybody's, those were killers. Do you know I look forward to it? Because I had a mentor when I worked at Mount St. Mary's, and he said, Keith, you know what? He said, when fatigue sets in, habit takes over. And one of the things we did when we ran was then we go shoot free throws. We run and then we go shoot free throws. We run, we go shoot free throws. Because the whole premise behind it was that if you learn good habits in a fatigue situation, that's what's going to kick in. Or bad habits. And, that's a metaphor for life, right? I mean, that we can, when we find ourselves in fatigue, stressful situations, we put it on automatic. Whatever our coping mechanisms are, those things just kind of kick in. And it was, so I used it. I had an opportunity, my coach had written a book. I had an opportunity, my high school coach had written a book and talked to him. And he said, you know what? When it came to conditioning, you really didn't slack. You worked hard. And it was because there was this guy who I would compete against. He was a football player. He couldn't play basketball, but he's a football player. And so I was just like, yeah. But then at the end of the ball game, I wasn't tired. I mean, now you're going to deal with a certain level of fatigue, but I could breathe.
Right.
And if you can breathe, you can think.
Good endurance.
Good endurance. And that I think
that's built up over time.
Right. Because even with, they talk about the Boston Marathon and it's the wall. I think it's about the 14-mile point, 15-mile point where a lot of people are going to feel this wall like, I can't go any further.
It's a little longer than that.
Oh, how long?
I think it's probably about mile 20.
About mile 20? That's pretty good.
Well, it could be a little bit soon. Well, I'd say
depending on the person.
You ran a marathon?
2. Yeah.
Okay, so was 20 for you?
I would say. I mean, yes, a little farther because half marathon was my favorite length, so I could relatively easily do those 13 miles, and then the next little chunk, right, was probably getting to the point where we're starting to feel it a lot more. But I would say by all those last 6 miles were mental. Completely mental, one foot in front of the other, just kind of that mantra in my head.
Rhonda did the triathlon, and she did the mile swim.
Yeah.
And I think it was the bike. And she said the first maybe 5 miles on the bike, she could feel it, but she just pushed through it. And so then she was able to, but yeah, you could have, 20. That's actually pretty good, Nancy.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, no, but
I could drive next to her for 20.
Yeah, because
you
you get to a point where they did a piece on it was on veterans. They did on PBS, and this guy was talking about he was in officer candidacy school. So there's a PT physical training requirement they had to do, and it was like there was a distance he had to run within this amount of time. And he said that he would get to a certain point where he quit. I can't go any further. He said, so now it comes up to the last time. If I don't do it now, I'm going to flunk out of officer candidacy school. He said that, and it was this whole thing about human will, which was just amazing. He said, when I got to the point and I figured it out, he said it was my will that then got me through that wall. And you kind of get through that, when you're pushing through. And but man, that's interesting because that happens with marathoners, where they get to the point where it's like, woo. But then you condition yourself.
I was gonna say you do all those training runs. I think the longest runs I would have done was about 22 miles, and you just plan, like you give yourself like grace that you're going to be able to get through the rest of it, even though you never actually ran that distance. But you've done the training. You've done months of training, so. As long as you don't get injured, then you just kind of You'll get there.
It hurts.
It
But you
does.
get-
Oh,
Yeah,
did it hurt?
You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
NOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM with your host, Keith Parris.
All right, welcome back to Community Voice. We're inside of Be Healthy, Be You. Ms. Brenda Buchanan and Nancy Leahy of Ascension, Wisconsin. And, we did dynamic duels last week, and we just came up with one that needs to be added to the list. Chip and Dale.
Mm.
Chip and Dale. Two of the more mannerable chipmunks that you ever going to. Well, quite love. Chip and Dale. I wish I was that creative. Somebody had to sit around and come up with that, and
Let's call him Chip and Dale.
let's call them Chip and Dale. And then, of course, then we had after that the dancers, the Chippendales, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but Chip and Dale, another dynamic duo that I was telling Nancy and Brenda off air. We do something. We do list, and we did it. I don't know if it was before Valentine's Day. I think the first one we did was songs. No, first one was songs with funk, and then the songs with names.
Mm.
Like Brandy, yeah, and then Pamela. That
Hey
one.
Jude. Was that a
Yeah,
person?
Jude,
Yes.
that's right.
Mhm.
And then, of course, I got a very angry text
Oh.
because Rhonda goes, and you didn't do Rhonda?
Oh,
Boys?
yes. Yes. That's a very fun song too.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't, man. I just dig that hole and just keep digging and just keep
You always
digging.
try to blame me, but you do pretty good on your own, Keith.
Oh,
I
thank
must
you,
tell
man. I'm a self-starter. So, but we were talking about, and I think that this is just great in terms of when Nancy was talking about her as a runner, running marathons. We talked about how important is rest, though, between exercise.
It is important with, I think, anything you're doing. So if you're doing cardio, such as running, it would be important not to be, if you're doing short distances, 3 to 5 miles, you could.
From a woman who does 20 miles.
If you're just
22
really a
miles.
slacker, you're only doing 3 to 5 miles.
All right. Well, shorter distances, under 5. It could be 1.
Or Hampton.
yeah.
Get to Hampton.
Right. Yeah,
You could potentially do those multiple days in a row. But when we do longer training runs, if you're training like for triathlon, those a little bit more endurance races, you will need to take rest days in between because your body does need to recover. This goes though even for weightlifting. So if you're doing heavy weight training, you don't want to do the same, like lifting the same body parts 2 days in a row. You want to give it some rest time in between, just so that you want that kind of muscle hypertrophy. Also, just to give you some recovery time. I mean, it's just as important. If you push too long, you can get hurt. So
Mhm.
I do know that there are intervals that people do in terms of when they're training. And so then I think the ultimate piece is that your rest intervals should be shorter as you get in better condition, right? I'm talking about when you're actually doing. So I'm running a sprint. So I'm doing 100 meters, run 100 meters. I'm going to rest. Maybe if I first start, my rest is going to take a little bit more time than once I'm in better condition, right?
Yeah, you
Requires less
recover
rest
quicker.
Mhm.
between. So the importance of rest. And a lot of people just feel like I just got to do it every day. And it's kind of going
Yeah, your body needs rest. And when you're sleeping, there's a lot of repair that goes on in your body while you're sleeping. So getting adequate sleep is important because certain different phases of sleep, different things are going on in your body. So your body is repairing, it's regenerating, it's, your nerves, your muscles, your bones, your body is busy doing a lot of work when you're sleeping that you're not aware of. That's when all of that takes place. And so even just regular sleep is important. And sometimes once you get on a good exercise regime, you probably start to sleep better too. Sometimes working out in the evening for me is hard, even though I teach in the evening, but it gets you more energized. Like some cardio might really wipe you out. Like if I do the water aerobics 2 hours I'm like dead. My body is like,
But in the morning,
really
you're at
depleted.
the optimum in terms of
Oh,
your
yeah.
energy, right?
Oh yeah, I'm like, and I'm a morning person anyway, so yeah, I wake up feeling great, but rest, you can overdo it with anything, but especially with exercise. You can, if you don't give your body time to repair itself and rejuvenate and do all of that, you're going to cause more problems than the benefits that you're going to get from exercise.
Because I can see the difference in the morning, the energy level, something I worked all day. Now you're going in, but you've expended a lot of energy working, right?
Mhm.
Whatever you're doing.
And that's the important of fueling yourself then properly after you have a strenuous workout or just have a workout. You should be eating plenty of good carbs, again, to replenish those glucose stores, and protein if we're trying to build our muscles. So it's really important after you're done with one of these exercise sessions to get some good nutrition.
Mhm.
And another just quick thing on the rest, if you're overdoing it, you're actually going to be increasing those stress hormones. Cortisol levels are going to raise, adrenaline. I mean, those are the types of things that actually can start breaking down your body if you're doing it too much. So just how important rest is.
And when we talked about planning exercise, like Nancy said, eating the appropriate foods, you really need to take a look at your diet. If you're really saying, I'm going to go into building muscle or working out on a regular basis, you need to look at your food a little bit different. You need to be more deliberate and making sure you get enough of those healthy carbs as well as protein, your electrolyte. I mean, everything. You really need to be more deliberate. You just can't continue to eat junk or eat out all the time and then go on and exercise, because then you're going to cause more damage than good, because your body is not getting what it needs. Protein is big, even if you're not trying to rebuild muscle, even to maintain it, especially us women as we get older. You really have to pay attention to getting those things into your body.
I think that when you again, it's like when heavyweight boxers would always tell you how difficult it was for them, right? Ali would say, what he had to give up in order to get into optimum weight. If you're at the lower weight classes, then what do you do to make sure you maintain weight? But then once you stop conditioning, you come off of that, then boy, here I go, sweet potato pie.
Yeah.
And so to be able to, I admire people who have that discipline where, their diet is their diet. I mean, it is, I was, LeBron James spends about $1 million a year just taking care of his body. And, but I'm sure it's his diet. You have a cook, who's coming in, and
wouldn't that be nice?
Sure. And a person even calculating out how much protein you need, what types of protein you need, what, somebody that's looking at for what he's got, just optimal nutrition for his body, I'm sure.
And then, and they said that. with
Jealous.
With NBA players, one of the issues a lot of times is the travel and the impact that travel has on your body, because you're not able to get proper rest. If you're on a 4-game homestand, that means you're sleeping in your own bed. But now you're traveling. And I know they had an instance with the Bucks when we were down in New Orleans, and they couldn't get out of New Orleans and literally had to fly back, get off the plane, and go straight to the arena.
Yeah. And then when you have those teams that are like far on the opposite coast, they usually have a run of, like the Bucks may go a run on the West Coast. And so they might be out there for a week and a half, going from hotel to hotel, different foods, and that is very, very hard
If you
on their body.
I've lived out of a suitcase. That after a while, it takes its toll. I mean, it's just the travel part was easy, but you're away from home for 3 days, 4 days. You're not that I had a great diet when I was at home, but now might be doing fast foods. I mean, the whole thing, and then how do you maintain, and then you can exercise, all those things that you have to take into consideration. But it does, the travel, and then I think just the pressurized air.
Oh yeah,
is really not good. So there are people who have injuries and they're not flying. because of that the air in the
And crossing time zones.
quite,
If you're going from the far east to the far west, a little bit of jet lag.
I was just thinking it back in the day. There used to be an airline here called North Central Airline.
Mm-hmm.
They merged, I think, with Republic to become Midwest Express.
Mm-hmm.
And
I miss Midwest Express.
oh my
That was the best
That's
airline.
nice.
best. I mean, everything. Talk about just the comfort airline. I'm not a
Mhm.
sweets guy, but I had pumpkin pancakes
On there.
on
They were
there.
delicious.
Oh my god! And of course the cookies.
Yeah, the
Cookies,
chocolate
yeah.
chip
Mhm.
cookies smelling baking. Be like, ooh, give me a cookie.
But there weren't direct flights from Milwaukee to Dallas or Reagan or BWI, so I'd have to go to Chicago. And used to do North Central Airlines to go to
Mhm.
Chicago to fly
Mhm.
east, and that's when they had smoking on the plane.
Oh,
Oh,
God,
God.
what horrid. I can't even imagine that
And
now.
seated maybe 20 people. How do you have a no smoking section of the plane this small? There's smoke everywhere on the plane. It was just like, and that's the other thing, man. Those of us who were in the 20th century, remember when you could smoke indoors?
Mhm.
You got 2 generations now. They have no
That-
concept
yes,
of the ability
yeah.
to be able to smoke indoors.
You could smoke everywhere.
Everywhere. I mean, it
Restaurants.
hospitals.
Yeah,
Hospitals.
hospitals. Oh, yeah.
Hospitals.
Yeah, hospitals, restaurants.
In
everywhere.
school, you always knew the teacher's lounge.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause,
You
you see
always
the
smell
smoke coming out of the door.
when you walk by the door, that must be the teacher's lounge. And I can see why those teachers were
They
probably
going-
smoking. Yeah, I
right,
gotta
they're
go back
going
and deal
after
with
break.
Keith.
Yeah.
Let me-
Let me go hit this cigarette
But
real
you know,
quick.
you think about and I know people are real concerned, but I think it's one of the best things that ever happened.
Yes.
And,
Get rid of
and, you know,
smoking.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yes.
For the health of just.
I mean, I just remember even when I was young, going out to the nightclub, all your clothes, your hair, everything
you
stunk.
smell like the club. Like
Everything.
You smell like
There
the
was
night-
no getting up in the morning feeling refreshed because still your clothes or everything just smelled horrible.
Of course, our problem wasn't what was being smoked in the club. Our thing was being smoked on the way to the club.
Mhm.
But no, you're right. I forgot about that you could go in and that you could, you smoking at a bar.
Yeah.
There's a place just near and dear to me, the Why Not too, and man, just to see the transformation,
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
the transformation of the Why Not, and when I first moved, because it was literally around the corner from my apartment, so I'm
Mhm.
talking like a block and a half, and but I could just see how, we went from you couldn't really see in there because of all the
Mhm.
smoking,
Mhm.
and then there was like no smoking, and it was just like it was night and day.
Yeah. And it was funny how when it happened, oh, nobody's going to go to the clubs anymore.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
took about 5 minutes.
Oh man, that
Right.
wasn't-
They were right back up
Well,
there.
the thing, I didn't smoke in other parts of the house, but I smoked in the basement,
Mhm.
and I didn't realize painted those walls.
Oh, I
It-
know you
right.
go in
it
people's
was
houses
like-
that smoke. Oh, my God.
It was just like, and this
The tar dripping off the walls.
this
yeah.
was really embarrassing. Again, I didn't smoke in the house, so I have a porch, and so I'd smoke on the porch and just leave cigarette butts. It looked like a carpet, and this got me off of it. So it's always kids, right? So my goddaughter had a group of her little church friends over. They were doing something, and I don't know how she got upstairs, and she's going to take them upstairs to show them all the cigarette butts.
Let me show you this. Show you what happens in our house. Wow.
I was so embarrassed. And it literally looked like a carpet, it just throwing them down, all the cigarette butts that she did. And I'm going like, dude, you might want to take a look at this, in terms of it. And then you have to go out and sweep it all up. And it was literally a garbage bag, because it'd been, just years. So, but the importance of exercise, especially this time of year. What about when it's like really frigid cold and you're out walking? Obviously, you don't want your skin exposed. What about breathing in the air?
Well, if you're breathing through your nose, you're these little tubule things in your nose are warming everything up so that when it hits your lungs, it's an appropriate temperature. But when we're like this and it's cold out, we often are breathing through our mouths, and that cold air is going right into the lungs, which for some people, especially if you have a history of asthma or bronchitis, it can cause some spasms in the airway. People start coughing, gagging. So minimal amount of time, certainly outside walking, if you have to walk, minimal. But if you can cover up your mouth, try to breathe through your nose. Anything helps, but that cold air can really be hard on your lungs.
What about, is there a shock to the system when we go from extreme cold and then go into heat, or is that?
It can, because then our body's got to make sure it's working. It's always trying to, what we say, stay in a balance. It's always working to keep things balanced. Sometimes when that happens, like if I go outside, I might start shivering a little bit, right? Sometimes that can affect your immune system when you're going from hot to cold. So when people say, oh, you're going to get a cold, you're not probably getting a cold from that. But if your immune system is really working hard and your immune system becomes compromised, then that puts you you're more likely to get something if you're exposed to it. And so it can be harder on the body.
I don't think that's true, right? About the wet hair outside.
No, no. Put on a hat, all of that. Yep, you're going to get sick. It's what's going on with your body trying to maintain an appropriate body temperature that can make you more susceptible to infections.
All right, boy, you talk about like extremes. I remember I don't know if I was going from Maryland or coming from Wisconsin, and I went to Miami. And man, I walked outside and that felt like a wall of heat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, it was just like, what about this thing? Does our blood thicken when it gets colder and thinner when it's warmer?
No, it's the same. Our blood may, like when it's cold outside, fingers get wrinkly. You don't notice the veins as much because they're kind of going deep under. And when it's hot, everything is like that. But again, your body is always trying to maintain a balance, an optimal balance for your body all the time. So, if you're drinking adequately, doing all those things, we might say those kinds of things. Maybe it makes us feel better, but
can we get dehydrated in the wintertime?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. I think too, like when you're walking outside in the cold, and if you're breathing a little harder, a little strenuous, and through your mouth, you are releasing a lot of vapor that way. So yes, we definitely can get dehydrated. Our skin looks drier in the winter. I think it is important to.
Sure. The furnace is sucking all, the heat, they're all sucking all of that out of us. The dry air is, draining. That's why our hands look so horrible in the summer if we don't pay attention to them.
Everything.
Yeah, everything gets dry because
Larry.
Right. In the summer when we have all that humidity, our skin looks great. Although we might be puffy.
No, that was boy, we found out the importance of lotion when I played basketball. The last thing you wanted to do is come out looking ashy, right?
Yeah.
Jermaine said that he would take a shower before he played. A lot of people say you don't do that, and then
he put that powder in his shoes.
Oh man, I was out there, Smokey the Bandit out there, man. My shoes were smoking Joe Frazier.
Yeah.
Or the dude, you got cologne on. We playing ball, man.
Man, I wanted to smell good when I was out
when
there.
you go past
man.
Yeah, go past some
Not only does he
cheerleaders.
look good playing basketball,
Man,
smells
be like,
good.
hey baby, I'll be back. Go back down the court.
Dude got on cologne, and you just
Smelling good.
smelling good, man. That defeats the whole purpose of
I wasn't thinking about
A
it.
little
man.
funk and cologne mix.
Yeah, got that. Well, but it's chemistry.
It is.
You
It
know,
is.
it
Well,
can-
that's
it
why
can-
I can put on a perfume. Nancy could put it on. Smells totally different.
Body chemistry.
Yeah.
How the body
That's
is-
why I'll never buy anything. I'll spray it in the store, come back half hour later, or see what it smells like. Because you might think it smells good, and then you're like, oh man, that really smells.
Yeah,
Stinks
I had
on
that
me.
happen to me.
Well,
man.
Yeah.
you do do a heavier scent in the winter,
Yeah.
and then lighter scents in the summer.
Yeah.
Just for all you cologne perfume folks
That is
out
true.
there that able to it cologne. How do you put on cologne when you play ball?
See, because I'm gonna tell you what I did, man.
These are masculine men.
My thing was,
Women like men that smell good.
man, listen,
Manly
yeah.
man.
And that's where, see,
That's
man, I
not
got
good.
5 sisters, so
Okay.
that's where I learned it from. Hey, you want to smell good at all times, so you keep your feet clean, you keep your armpits clean. So before we played ball, you know, I was on the varsity squad, so you had the freshman squad and the JV played first, so that gave you time to, you know, shower, whatever, before the game. So I would shower before the game, whatever, put the baby powder in my shoes. And I was ready to go.
At guard,
Smoking Joe Frazier.
Right. Uh-huh.
Jermaine
Like-
Powder,
Yeah.
right
Baby
out.
powder right out.
Come here, give me that powder.
Powder. Which is really a forgettable film, but that part of that movie, Powder.
He was like,
Come here. Give me the powder. Let me. Brenda, thank you. Nancy, thank you. Debo, thank you, man. Jermaine, thank you. Michelle, thank you. Hey, good Lord willing, Creek Don't Rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And again, tomorrow, we'll be joined in studio by the Reverend Dr. Demetrius Williams, Faith, Justice, Politics. So hope you can join us. And again, be careful out there and go from this place in peace.
Lord, open our eyes.